All right, focus up, people. This is Scott Wilson with Dumbass Contractors checking in. Welcome to today's briefing. This morning's topic is hot water equals civilization. Let's start off with this. What's the difference between a prepper and a survivalist? A prepper is into hardware, a survivalist is into software. I am a survivalist. I grew up in a very rural part of New Hampshire at the end of a road. We were the last house that they plowed to in the wintertime. My dad was an airline pilot. He could be gone for a week at a time, and my mom could be left on 30 acres in the middle of nowhere with three kids during the middle of a blizzard. We learned how to exist without electricity, without heat. Um, we just did. My mom was a nurse. We didn't need medical care. We needed it, but we could get along without it. It was a life altering series of learning experiences. I've always tried to continue the skill set. Part of my desire to build houses is to create shelter for people. You can live for 3 days without shelter. The average person freezes to death at 55 degrees. The most important part of survival is hot water. Living on Long Island now as an adult, we had a lot of storms come through here. Sandy was the last big one back in 2012. We were without power for 17 days. My house is rigged to survive a hurricane without electricity. We have a wood stove. About halfway through Sandy, I was getting some gas at a gas station. They had police officers protecting the gas station because people were rioting over trying to get gasoline. And the cop comes out to me and, how cold is it at your house? And I told him it was 80 degrees, but we had the windows open and we get the temperature down somehow. And he kind of looks at me. He's like, my wife just called me. It's 33 degrees at his house. She was trying to heat the whole house with the stove. And I said, yeah, well, I'm not going to freeze to death surrounded by dead trees. We have a gas-fired, pilot-lit hot water heater in our house in Centerport. And without that clean, hot water, you're a refugee. It's not electricity. It's not, you can get along without food for 30 days. But if you don't have hot water, your sanitation decreases rapidly. And then you start to get dysentery. You can't keep your hands clean. You can't keep your environment clean. That hot water really is what defines civilization. The more health care or the condition of the human experience has been improved by plumbers more than anybody else. And that how we create hot water in our living environment is important. I have in New Hampshire, we have a oil-fired cold start boiler with an 80-gallon hot water tank, indirect hot water tank, so it's separate from the boiler. I can store 80 gallons, heats it up twice a day, cycles it back through, keeps it warm. In New York, we have I think it's a 60-gallon tank with a gas-fired, pilot-lit hot water. I have my wood stove. I have my gas-fired hot water. And that allows me to get through any power outage, any storm. As long as I have that gas coming into the house underground, trees can't take it out. My water's underground. We have a public water system here in Centerport, Suffolk County Water. So I get clean water and gas underground, and I can get through any storm. Now, what happened during Sandy, and I said this to all of my dumbass neighbors, they go out and they have these portable generators, and I said, that's fine. As long as you can get fuel for it, you're fine. What are you going to do if you can't get gasoline? And they all looked at me and laughed and said, come on, there's always gasoline. Just go to the gas station. Well, in Sandy, the pipeline to Holtzville was cut, and we ran out of gasoline almost immediately. The stations during storms here, what the stations do is pump their tanks dry, so that everybody fills up their tanks. We put it all in our cars so that we can drive, but the tanks are empty. So when that pipeline to Holtzville, to the tank farm in Holtzville, was cut, we didn't have any gasoline, and that's why they were rioting. And they thought they needed electricity to charge their phones. I said, do you have any phone service? No, the whole phone system is down. The whole internet went down. Okay, do you have, what else do you need for it? Well, we got to watch your cable. Okay, great. Is the cable working? No, that's broken too. Okay, so what do you need electricity for? You don't really. You can live without electricity. I actually prefer living in a house that's wired for DC, or we spend a lot of time in houses with no electricity at all. I believe it makes an electromagnetic field. There's how houses are before we turn on the electricity, and I can feel it afterwards. It's like a low grade hum or extra vibration. I don't know how to describe it, but a solar powered DC house is actually quite nice to live in. It's much more relaxing. It's less agitating. So these folks were, they were hell bent on electricity being their number one thing, and a lot of them had boilers that that couldn't heat water because they couldn't turn it on because they didn't have electricity. So I live in a storm alley. Hurricanes hit Long Island really hard, at least once a year. And I like that gas-fired hot water heater. My house is set up to run as long as they can keep the emergency generators on, pushing that natural gas through the line, pushing that water through the line. I can wash my hands. I can have a shower. Got my soap. And that's civilization, not electricity, not the internet, not newspapers, hot water. Hot water is civilization. If there's one thing I can't do without, it's hot water. Okay? We're burning daylight. Scott Wilson with Dumbass Contractors, urging you to stay loose, stay relaxed. Most importantly, stay in front of it. Wilson out.